Curious tone. You spray a room with chemicals. Most mosquitoes drop dead immediately, yet a few identical-looking ones fly away entirely unharmed. To understand how they survive, we have to examine two biological forces, variation and selection. This split-screen diagram shows the two ways differences present within a single species, which we call variation. On the left, the line graph tracks continuous variation, like human height, where traits fall along a broad spectrum influenced by both genes and the environment. On the right, we see discontinuous variation, like ABO blood groups. These are strictly distinct categories coded entirely by genetics, with no in-between states. The source of all these differences comes down to errors in the genetic code. When a DNA sequence changes randomly during cell division, it creates a new mutation. Organisms do not mutate on purpose to solve a problem. The genetic code simply makes a mistake. Variation is just a random shuffling of traits. It provides the raw material. The local environment acts as a blind filter, sorting through those random traits to determine which organisms actually live long enough to pass their code on. This diagram breaks down the mechanics of natural selection into a strict 5-step sequence: variation, competition, survival, reproduction, and evolution. Look at the grasshoppers in this cross-section. We see clear variation in their color, and they are actively competing while trying to avoid predators. Because the brown grasshoppers contrast sharply against the green leaves, they are easily spotted and eaten. The environment is actively filtering them out. The surviving green grasshoppers secure the resources, reproduce, and pass those specific genes for green camouflage down to the next generation. Over many generations, the green trait becomes the dominant baseline for the entire population. The cycle of variation, competition, survival, and reproduction results in evolution. The process requires no conscious thought from the grasshoppers or the predators. Natural selection is a sorting algorithm driven strictly by the specific pressures of the local habitat. We can apply this exact algorithm to humans. In Uganda, the malaria parasite acts as a severe invisible selection pressure, creating a high-stakes environment where survival relies on cellular defenses. This medical illustration compares two bloodstreams to show how a harmful mutation becomes an advantage. On the left is a normal bloodstream with round red blood cells. On the right is a heterozygous bloodstream containing the sickle cell trait, carrying both normal cells and sickle-shaped cells. Normally, the sickle cell mutation causes severe health complications, but when the malaria parasite enters the heterozygous bloodstream, it struggles to multiply. The mutation acts as a biological shield against a deadly disease. Apply the final steps of our natural selection algorithm. If the heterozygous trait ensures survival against malaria, predict what happens to the frequency of the sickle cell gene in these specific regions over multiple generations. Biological traits carry no inherent moral value. A mutation that causes a dangerous disease in a cold climate is the same mechanism that ensures survival in a tropical malaria zone. Natural selection requires time to operate across generations. When a forest canopy is aggressively cleared in a matter of days, the environmental shift outpaces the biological rate of reproduction. Species with low genetic variation face extinction because they cannot adapt fast enough. However, at the microscopic scale, organisms with massive variation and rapid reproduction rates adapt in real time. We see this mechanics play out in our hospitals with antibiotic resistance. This sequence of petri dishes illustrates human-induced selection. Dish 1 holds a bacterial population with a random, naturally resistant red mutant. In dish 2, an antibiotic is applied. The drug acts as an extreme environmental filter, destroying all the normal blue bacteria immediately. In dish 3, the lone red bacterium undergoes rapid binary fission until the entire dish is repopulated exclusively by the red resistant strain. The bacteria did not mutate because of the antibiotic. The resistant trait already existed by random chance. The drug simply removed all competition, leaving the resistant strain to dominate the space through rapid binary fission. By overusing antibiotics, we apply an artificial selection pressure. We filter out the weak bacteria and leave behind only the strongest variants, actively engineering superbugs that our medicines can no longer kill. The observable result of natural selection over thousands of generations is called adaptation. Traits are shaped entirely by the harsh realities of the surrounding environment. Organisms solve these environmental pressures in three ways: structurally, like a reptile developing webbed feet; physiologically, like a desert plant opening its stomata only at night to retain water; or behaviorally, like birds migrating during a dry season. This cheat sheet lays out the entire process for exam review. On the left, the 5-step mechanical path of natural selection. On the right, it displays the 3 selection curves that map how traits shift over time: stabilizing selection favoring the average, directional selection pushing toward one extreme, and disruptive selection favoring both extremes simultaneously. From drought-resistant plants in Karamoja to the sickle cell trait in Uganda's wetlands, every living organism is the end result of an unbroken lineage that successfully navigated the specific pressures of its environment.